You don't want to say it all again, do you?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
I trained with Andrew last year. So this time last year, I was where you are. And then we had COVID sort of kind of curtailed it in the middle. So I finished the course as an online student. And then Andrew said, did I want to work as his support worker? And when I was doing the case studies, I found I was working with online students and I was saying, when do you practice? How do you have this interaction? And they said, well, we just practice on family. I said, what he needs to do is sort of, get the students together so that you can practice together. So I'm telling Andrew exactly how I think he should be running his business. What you need is someone just to coordinate it, get the students that are at similar levels, get them together. And he just looked at me and just said, you've got the job. What do you mean I've got the job? I wasn't applying for a job.
I must admit, I contacted Andrew and said, oh, if you wanted a little bit of help with student support, and I'm happy to do some training. And it started off as, yes, I'd like some help. And, oh, actually, could you just take that over now, please? So here I am. Just to run through what we're going to go through tonight, as I say, I think a few people might pop in. Welcome, a new one's come in there. Jessica,
me.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hi.
So obviously a little bit about Heather, going to talk a little bit about the objectives of the course, why you're here. So we're going to do a little exercise a little bit later on where you're going to talk a little bit about why you're here and what you want to get from the course and getting to know each other a little bit. You're going to find as you go along, you're going to get to know each other very well indeed. Very much part of the experience. And, the whole course is very much about changing the way you see the world, really. Changing how we think, feel and behave, as Andrew would say. So a little bit about you, talk to you a bit about useful contacts, how this course is going to help you, and a bit of an overview of what we're going to include in the course. Few rules and guidance and things like that, just to make sure that things work well both in the training sessions and within the practice sessions and so on, because there's going to be a lot of practice, as you'll see. It's very much theory integrating practice all the time. So we're constantly working with practice. Little bit about how to get your diploma. Some of you will be wanting to definitely get that diploma and the accreditations that go with that. Some of you might just be doing this for interest. I guess that's some of the things that we're going to find out as we talk to you a little bit later on. Bit of guidance on case studies as well. And as I said, we're going to do a bit of a practical exercise in the second part, working individually and then talking to each other as well. Okay, so before I sort of launch into some of that information, has anybody got any questions to start with? No, not yet?
Yeah, I do.
Yes?
Sorry, I'm not at all familiar with Zoom. Is it going to be easy when we're going to be doing like partnerships and stuff like that?
Sorry, you're not at all familiar with what was that? Did you say?
Zoom.
Okay. Oh yeah, you'll get the hang of it. Don't worry.
I'm just worried about interacting with people individually and moving around the room and all the rest of it.
You don't need to move around the rooms. We'll do that for you. So.
Oh right. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so you don't really have to worry about that, and you'll be surprised how easy it is actually. Once you're in a room with a couple of people, it's fine.
Okay.
And obviously we're all now practicing online as well, those of the 16 clients, so it's much easier than you expect, isn't it, Heather?
Oh yeah, most of my stuff's all on. I live here. It's the commute to the office is very easy. I just go up the stairs now.
A little bit like that for all of us. I've started to see clients face to face as well again, which is quite nice. Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit resistant to Zoom at first myself, and I've actually found it's absolutely fine. In fact, some clients prefer it, because they're at their own home and they can no inhibitions, so it's different. So, but it's not a problem.
Debbie,
okay, thank you.
just one thing. emails from you, Heather and Andrew have been going to my junk inbox. And even though I have diverted it back, I still have been getting some more. So I don't know if that might happen to other people, that's all.
Right. Okay. That's. I'm not quite sure how we can counter that, Heather. Have you come across that?
I just check my junk email once or
Yeah.
twice a week just
But
to
I
make
was
sure.
getting emails into my normal inbox, but then I was also getting other ones to my junk inbox. So that's why I didn't realise, because they weren't all going to my junk inbox from you three.
Right. Okay. I mean, I would say in the meantime, if you wouldn't mind just checking those, just in case you have anything.
Yeah.
Because you
I
will.
would check and see if they're coming from different email accounts, because it might be that you might have to, you know, click on them that it isn't junk so that it jumps into the main one.
Yes, I am doing that, but your last email went to my junk inbox as well, even though I diverted you back to my inbox. So
Strange. Has anybody else had that happen? Has that happened to anybody else? Same thing.
Yeah.
All I can say in the short term, if you wouldn't mind just checking, just keep checking your spam, and hopefully that will stop. But okay, sorry about that. Not quite sure how we can solve that.
We can't do anything. So it'll either come from the office. The support office is Andrew. Support inbox is me. Training is Debbie.
Yeah.
Oh,
So those will be the three that you all get them from.
Yeah.
Mostly just training and support now that Andrew's kind of handed it off.
Okay, right, I'm going to share my screen with you now. So something I will say to you, I'm experienced in teaching, I'm experienced in hypnotherapy, I'm not experienced in teaching on Zoom yet. So Heather, help me out if I'm, so please be a little bit patient with me if I'm technically not doing as well as I should do here. So I'm now going to share my screen. Right, so we can just talk you through some of those. Okay, can you all see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right, I'm just going to move that over. Okay, so just going back a bit. Here we go. If we just start with some of the useful contacts, and we just started on that there. So obviously these addresses are the ones that if you get emails from office at Andrew or Andrew at Andrew Parr, that will be Andrew. And if it's me training, as we just said, support Heather, who you will see for practice sessions, and she will be in the training sessions with me as well. Yvette Lowry is the person you send your coursework to. Okay, we'll talk a bit more about the coursework as we go, but that's the address where you will send that. But you don't have to send it in every week. You can very much work at your own pace on that. It's good if you can go it as we go through the modules, but that's where you'd send that. A few other useful addresses there. Alison Baldwin, who's the accounts and financial person. All of this information is in your booklets, by the way. I've just taken bits out and put them here just for easy seeing it, really. And Antoinette is our website and technical support lady, who lives in another country. I'm not sure Andrew's ever met her from what he said, but she does all of that side of things for us. Vanessa Kyle used to be Andrew's support or student support lady, and she's now moved over to being supervisor, so that when you actually qualify and you've got your diploma and perhaps you're actually practicing, she can help you out with sort of aftercare, if you like, and so on. So Vanessa's in the main group, you know, the main Facebook group, which is just hypnotherapy and training, which has got everybody in it, really. Hopefully you've found a lot of these Facebook groups now. Did you all get the email explaining what the different Facebook groups are for?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so, I mean, if you've got any questions about that, I would ask, I mean, if there's something really pertinent as I go, please do ask. But when I'm talking through some of those things, it might be good just to let me go through, and I'm more than happy to take questions. So just so that I don't lose the thread, really. So you've got 3 Facebook groups. The one that I've just added today, the one you've all, well, most of you I think have added yourself to, the smaller group, is just you lot. So that is very, very personal to this particular cohort of students. So it just makes it a completely safe space for you. And then of course you've got the members area. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to have a look at the members area yet. People had a chance to have a
Yeah.
around
No,
that?
not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got absolutely loads of information there. You know, all of these every week will be uploaded afterwards on the various rewatching sessions if you want to. You've also got webinars that Andrew has done over the years, client sessions. There's a lot of information up there. Anything else you could add to that, Heather?
No. Wade through and find.
Okay, so they're sort of the main sort of useful contacts of the course. Objectives of the course, obviously, some of you will definitely want to get that diploma, but have to do the coursework. If you don't get the coursework, obviously, or you don't complete the written coursework, then you can't actually have the accreditations. But nobody is forcing you to do that. But of course, if you do the written coursework as well as all the practical stuff as well, we will be giving you constant feedback on as you go. You're very well accredited now, as you can see, full NCH, which is the National Council of Hypnotherapy, the General Hypnotherapy Register, and the ACCPH as well, and the Ofqual level 5. So really very well accredited as a qualification, which, you know, looks nice on your website when you come to actually start practicing. And people do look sometimes more than you think. You know, I know certainly people have come to me sometimes and they have particularly looked at that. Not that that makes you a better hypnotherapist necessarily, but people do like to have that sort of credibility, I think, behind what we do. Obviously, it's all about gaining the skills, and that isn't just of hypnosis. Obviously, there's so much more to it than that, which we will talk about, but gaining that knowledge to help other people to completely transform themselves. But a very big part of this will be transforming yourself more than you might believe. You definitely will finish this course seeing the world in a very different way, in a very good way, I have to say. So, you know, it's very much about helping people with their personal and sort of habits and issues that they want to sort of get over, what we quite often refer to as surface symptoms, because there's usually a lot more beneath, which we can talk about as we go through. So, and as I said, personal development, a massive part of this as well. Okay. Now, you've obviously all sort of, I would imagine, before you came onto the course, if you weren't already part of the course online, will have looked at other courses and really talking about why this course is such a good course to do. Andrew, who developed the course about 7 years ago now, had 30 years experience. Oops, we've got somebody to come in, have we? No? Okay. And experience with 17,000 plus going up every day, I'm sure. The Training Academy going right back to 2013. And he's developed this very unique approach, which is a very matter-of-fact, down-to-earth approach, really, of natural hypnosis. So naturally, you're going to learn all the different types of ways that you can do hypnosis, the different types of inductions, which will all make more sense a bit later on. But as I said, Andrew teaches you that his very specific approach of natural hypnosis, which is a very down-to-earth, natural way of doing things. And at the end of the day, it's drawing lots of things from lots of other sources as well. So, you know, it's taking a very broad approach. It's not just about the hypnosis. That is really just one of the tools that will help you to actually become a really sort of good therapist and really be able to help people and help yourself as well. So just looking at this diagram, which I think you're going to find in your notes anyway, but just looking at how the course is going to help you to become a successful therapist. So helping you to understand how to create big change in people, personal and emotional change. So much of it is down to the emotions. So what might just seem a very simple problem, generally our approach is to dig a little bit deeper and find out what really needs to change. So what often a client is presenting as the problem is not the problem at all, or it's a very surface level of what that problem might be. So it's learning to understand how to find out about these things, which we will go into a lot more detail about. obviously gaining the skills, and the skills, you're really going to gain the skills by practice, lots of practice. You get the opportunity to practice in at least 2 options of sessions after the training sessions. Sometimes we'll practice in the training sessions as well. And also certain types, when we talk about solution focused therapy, absolutely fine to practice that on pretty much anybody. When we go into the deeper analysis and the hypnoanalysis, maybe you have to be a little bit more careful about who you might work with on that. But again, we'll come to that a little bit later on. So very much gaining those skills, building up your knowledge in order to make you an effective therapist, and how to run an effective session to get the best out of it. We have somebody who needs to be let in. Hello, B. And again, putting it all into practice, putting it all together to help you build your confidence, to build your practice, if that's what you decide that you want to do. So helping you to put all that sort of thing together. So that just gives you a rough overview, but to give you a little bit more of a detailed overview, you'll have a better diagram of this actually in your course books, which hopefully most of you have got printed off at this point. So just looking at this here, the things that we're actually going to be looking at as we go through the course. So obviously this is running for over 36 weeks. And it is ideal if you can attend every session, because I think part of it is getting to know the people you're working with, because you will learn so much from each other as well, and you will get to know each other very well as well. But the more practice and the more information you're getting, the better you're going to be in the end. So if you can try and make all those sessions, it will be better for you. Obviously, for some of you, that might depend where you are on this. So some of you might have already dipped into quite a lot of these areas. So but yeah, the more you can attend, the better. And I don't know about you, Heather, but we're still learning all the time as well. You know, I think there's always something that you can pick up from something that you perhaps didn't see that way before. So there's always something new to learn, I think, or some new connection to make. So just looking at this model here, the overview of the course, we're going to start off, we'll mainly kick off with this next week when we'll start looking at mind models. So we look at various mind models that will help you to understand how people actually create symptoms themselves and what they really need to change. So as I said, quite often we see surface symptoms, and that's not really what it's all about. But sometimes the client doesn't even know that themselves. So we're going to look at a couple of mind models there that will actually help us to really understand how to get to the bottom of that and dig a little bit deeper. So mind models is one of the first things we'll look at. As we go through the course, we're going to look at lots of different approaches. So you're going to become very, very familiar with lots of different methods and drawing from a range of sources. So there's a real overlap there with not just hypnotherapy, but there's a counselling aspect, there's a coaching aspect to it. Some NLP, we don't go into the detail of a master NLP practitioner, but we will draw on some of that as well. Even a sort of a psychodynamic approach as well. So you will really sort of pull all those things together and bring that into your practice as a hypnotherapist. So it's so much more than just the hypnosis, obviously. Moving on to the clinical hypnosis, which is mainly what we'd refer to as solution focused. So some hypnotherapists only do that. Some training will only look at that clinical hypnotherapy, which is perhaps just dealing with the positive solution. So taking a very solution-based approach, which sometimes can work, sometimes it doesn't. And what we will look at when we come to that section is looking at understanding sometimes why it doesn't work. And we'll talk a lot about what's known as the critical faculty, which some of you might have already come across, but we'll go into a lot more depth as to how we can bypass that and ways of doing that. Also look at how we create a very personalised experience for each client. I think one of the things we try and get you to get rid of very early on is scripts. You will work with scripts to begin with, because that's how you learn and that's how we start. but we definitely don't operate in the way that it would be, all right, this is the no smoking person, let's pull out the no smoking script. It's very much handcrafted to each individual that comes to see you. And it's helping you to personalize that treatment by really helping to identify what the client's limiting beliefs are. So you can really personalize it for them. So that's really, really important. We go deeper and we go into the hypnoanalysis. This is when it gets very interesting for you as well, because obviously you're going to be working with each other in the practice sessions. So this is where you find out a lot about each other and sometimes a lot about yourself as well. And you will, you will definitely come through this and transform many different things that perhaps you didn't even realize you wanted to transform. So that's really looking at underlying causes. One of our ex-practitioners or ex-students from many years ago did a webinar recently, which I recommend you look at actually in the webinar area, in the members area, and he was saying that he gives his clients a choice. He says that we can just pull up the weeds if you like, or we can go for the roots and just pull, really get to it. And that's what hypnoanalysis really helps us to do. It really helps us to just dig into what the real problem is, and to help the client release that so that they are then open to receive a much more positive solution and positive suggestions. So you get a much more thorough response. And I think a big advantage you have on this course is that you're not just taking one approach or another. You have all of that, plus all of the other, sort of sources that we dig into. So that's the sort of hypnoanalysis side. And as I said, it really does start to get quite gritty when we get to that side of things. Some of you might want to run for the hills a little bit at times when it comes to those sessions, but it's really worth powering through. I know I certainly did when I did the training. That was definitely at the time, it was a bit like, oh, I liked it when it was all very happy. I'm not so sure now. But it's the really powerful stuff. And it's, I would say most of the clients I work with, we generally get to regression and hypnoanalysis because that's the way to really actually let go of the problem. So everything okay so far? Anybody got any questions as I'm going? No? If I'm talking too fast, let me...
Good.
Sorry, was that a question?
No, I was just saying all good.
No, all good, great, okay.
Sorry, I've got a question.
Yes, certainly.
Will the chat be monitored?
Will the what, sorry?
Chat.
The chat be monitored?
Yeah.
How do you mean monitored?
Well, there's a chat function and I put a question in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, sorry.
Come on, that a little bit later on, please, Rachel.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
All right. The only thing I would say is that we will look at that, but it's kind of hard for me to keep an eye on that and talk to you at the same time. So, but we will try and get back to that, don't worry. Heather, if you get a chance, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on that, if
yeah.
that's okay.
Can you mute everybody?
Right, yes, I will.
Because there are some people who've still got microphones open and we're getting a lot of interference.
Right, okay. I can't hear that at this end. So I can mute everybody, can I?
Yeah, if you click on participants.
Oh, hang on a second.
If you click on participants and the list of all the names comes up, you should be able to have mute all. Or if everybody could just mute themselves, then we can't hear what else is going on in your background, please. Okay, let's just check.
Debbie, you've muted yourself.
Okay, can you hear me, Heather?
Yep, that's fine. You're okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Right, let's get rid of that. Okay, right. Okay, so where were we? So going down to the bottom there, looking at putting it all together. So how to run a complete session. So how to really sort of put it all together, building the rapport with the client, really learning about some questioning, and we go into types of questioning that will really help you to dig down and find out what's really going on in the client's mind. So lots of open and fluid questioning to really find out as much as we can. And you really have to be very curious to do this. You really have to want to know. I think this is part of why I love doing this so much, because I'm just so nosy. I just really want to know what makes people tick, and I always have. So it just makes it the perfect job for me. So really knowing how to get that session together. And something I'm sure Heather will agree with me, no one session goes the same. Does it, Heather?
No, and it doesn't normally go the way you planned it either.
No, so I mean, you can plan to some extent, but you can't plan completely. And that's the whole point of being so bespoke with each client. And that's what makes it so powerful and so effective. To begin with, obviously, as I said, we will work with scripts, and you will be trying to follow the rules, if you like. But sometimes the rules do go out of the window to some extent, because you just don't know where a client's going to go. And we very much sort of are training you, if you like, to follow the client and go where they need to go as much as possible. So that running the session, it's a guideline to try and follow, and there are certain things that you will need to try and follow to some extent to make it all come together. But that's including, as I said, the rapport and combining all those different skills that you're going to develop and all those different techniques and those different things you're going to draw on, like the sort of psychotherapy, the coaching, the counselling, perhaps some NLP, all of these different things, dependent on what the client is actually needing. So that's the kind of putting the whole session together, and you will obviously get a lot of opportunity to practice these in the practice sessions and sometimes in the training sessions too. Moving on to specific treatments, so things like weight loss, smoking, addictions, habits, NLP, phobias, all of these things, all the things that we tend to associate with hypnotherapy. And quite often they might be the one thing that somebody's coming for. So they might be saying, right, well, it's a weight problem, but there isn't this one size fits all that works for weight loss. We can certainly give you guidance, but sometimes there's a lot more behind that. And that's where sometimes your sort of hypnoanalysis and the regression comes in to help you to solve that. So we do quite a lot of work on specific suggestions for how you might work with different types of issues, if you like. And then the final bit is building the business or building your practice. So how to get clients at a profit, how to build your website, but not just how to build your website, how to actually get clients to your website. Oh, we've got another one coming in. There we go. So very much the whole picture. That's not going to tell you absolutely everything. At the end of the day, you're going to find different things work. But you've got so many resources to draw from, not just the training. It's not, you've got the Facebook groups, you've got lots of experienced practitioners in the main Facebook group, the big one. So you'll quite often see things that will really, really help you in lots of different ways. So in a nutshell, that's a rough overview of where we're going. And it's a lot. There's a lot to learn all the time. Lots to learn. So any questions about that so far? No, okay. Bit about the training methodology. So how we're going to do that. I mean, pretty much what you know already. We have the training session on the Wednesday night between 7 and 9. Practice session, there'll always be one on a Wednesday, 7:30 to 9. And there's an extra one we've added in now for Friday mornings, which will be with Heather. So the Wednesday one will be with me. The Friday one will be with Heather. I think something that will be hopefully quite nice for you is that Heather and I won't say we have a different approach, but we're very different people. So I think that's quite nice because, we can come from different angles. And so one of us may resonate more with you than the other. So, but it's good to have that we're very different personalities, aren't we, Heather?
Oh, yeah. Definitely different personalities.
Definitely different personalities. Not quite goody and baddie though, are we?
No. You're more polite, I'm more direct.
Fair enough. We can be Batman and Robin, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so you've got obviously lots of opportunity to be interactive online. Coursework, you need to complete that, as I said at the beginning, and submit it in order to actually get your diploma, but you can do it at your own pace. So some of you may be working around jobs at the moment, and part-time, children, all sorts of different things. So you do have the opportunity to do it as you want to. So, you know, that is very much down to you. And again, just a reminder of all those different sort of other resources you've got: the members area, the Facebook group, the general beginners group, which we're actually having a Zoom call for this Thursday, which I will put the link out to you soon, which is, we're hoping to run as a monthly thing. So it's almost like a monthly meeting on Zoom, which just gives you an opportunity to ask for more of what you might need. Or you might have a particular thing you want us to cover within that. It's just another bit of contact. It's just so that you don't really feel like you're on your own. You know, we're here to support you. So you're not just left to get on with it, if you like. Okay. Few ground rules. There's always got to be rules. Just letting you know, your module notes, I'm saying were sent out the night before, but I think Heather and I have decided that you'll probably get them at the weekend. So that gives you a bit more time to have a read through before we actually do the sessions. So ignore the night before. But yeah, you should get those each weekend. Just a small note on training sessions. There will be times when there's something that will resonate with you, particularly as we get into the hypnoanalysis side of things. And it's, you know, there's going to be lots of time for personal development within the practice sessions, but it's really just to maybe not say too much in a sort of a big session, just so that we can get through the stuff, really. So not being rude and saying that we're not interested in helping, but just that it isn't a group therapy as such, but you will definitely get some therapy as we go through anyway. So if you can just be mindful of that, particularly if there is something that is really sort of pushing your buttons, something we're talking about, that can be picked up in the practice sessions and may well even be resolved at times. Account security, sort of obvious things really, just maintaining confidentiality, both with when you actually start to work with clients, but also in terms of training material as well. So anything that you have here, all of the online material, it's all copyright owned by Andrew Parr Training Limited. So please don't share that out with other people. You're paying for that, obviously. So just really to remind you of that, sorry. Public computers, obviously remembering to log out. And if there's anything's wrong with any of the sites, for some reason you can't log in or anything like that, if you can alert us to that, either by email or in the Facebook group, so that we can make sure that we could get that put right as soon as possible. Generally, the response is very, very quickly. There's quite a lot of us to sort of help you with that. So, okay. Few ground rules when attending practice sessions. Obviously, our first one is tomorrow. So it's something you're going to find. You're a big group of different personalities, I'm sure. Some of you will get on better with each other than others. Some of you may not think you will at first, and then that might change, but you will all have a whole different set of beliefs and values. So it's really just about respecting that. I'm sure I don't even need to say that, but it's something you're going to have to bear in mind with your clients as well when it comes to it, because sometimes you will have a client sat in front of you who is telling you lots of stuff that definitely don't fit with your values, but that has got nothing to do with us. We cannot judge on that. So equally, if we can make sure that we don't judge each other either, and to respect that as much as possible. Respecting, obviously, practice protocols. So if we work in a way that we usually work in threes, so it's like the counsellor model. So we'll have therapist, client and observer, always to make sure that you are not interrupting, particularly if you're the observer, because there'll be times when you'll be itching to say something that they're not saying, but just to make sure that you don't, just making sure as well in that situation that you're very quiet, because whoever's acting as the therapist, particularly to begin with, is probably going to be very nervous, and it is quite a sensitive environment if you're the client as well. So really just respecting each other. And as I said, if you're the observer, just take notes on something you want to say, and you can feed that back to them afterwards. So, you know, please never interrupt or anything like that, unless something terrible was happening, but you know, that I'm sure that won't happen. Mobile phones off, obviously. Obviously we're all in our own homes or things like that, so sometimes there will be disturbance and that can't be helped. Generally, when Heather and I are working as an observer for you, we will turn our videos off and our pictures, so you don't feel like you're being watched. We are watching you, but at least hopefully you won't feel like you're being watched and you won't be able to hear us. Same rule with live demos. There will be live demos, so again, just really respecting that. Even things like, you know, writing and tearing sheets can be really, really noisy, and you know, bear in mind there will be times when somebody's going through quite a moment and might be getting quite emotional, so something like that could really jar them, so to be very careful about that. Timekeeping, as much as possible, please try to arrive on time, because we will start on time, so it might mean you'll miss stuff, but even just waiting for people to come in, it means we have to see that you need to be admitted. It just can cause a little bit of disruption. So if you know that you're going to be particularly late, if you could let us know beforehand, that would be really, really helpful. But I know it happens, you know, as I said, some of you will be working, it might be difficult to get here on time, so you know, just wherever you can. And again, questions, we really want you to ask questions. We don't want you to be sat there thinking you can't, but just finding the right moment, really, more than anything else. And there's always going to be lots of times for questioning. I mean, at the beginning of the session, we'll normally start off and you're bound to probably have questions of things you've read, something that might have happened that week. So there'll always be time for questions as well. Okay. Right, okay, now these are just the boring bits we're going through. We will get on and do something in a minute, I promise. So just about getting your diploma. So as I said, we've talked about the coursework, and you've got Yvette's address there, which is also in your books. I've got a feeling that my details aren't in your books, so I might give that to you at the end again. So I don't think they're actually in there, so I'll make sure that you've got that. Although you've probably had endless emails from me, so you've probably got it anyway. So, okay, so yeah, so you've got the coursework. You will also work with a reflective practice journal, where you will need to record a minimum of 40 hours therapeutic practice. And this is all going to be logged as you go, and that all counts towards your diploma. And you'll also use a personal learning journal. Now, we will go into more detail about that, but what I would say is when you're working with each other in the practice sessions, even from tomorrow, when we're going to do quite basic stuff, just make a note of those things, keep a note of those sessions. Doesn't have to be very, very detailed, but make sure you've got something, because you won't remember it when you've got to sort of recall it later on. So please make sure you try and keep a note as much as possible. I'm one of these people that writes everything down. Yeah, so that's something we'll go into a little bit more detail, so you understand more about what that's like as we go. You will need to do a total of 4 case studies at the end of your diploma to hand in as part of the coursework, and each of those case studies need to have been somebody you've worked with for at least 2 sessions. Might be more, quite often it will be. These things don't always happen in one session, sometimes they do. So you will need 4 case studies to talk about, and then there'll be this statement of personal and professional philosophy, which you'll hand in as part of your sort of final sort of diploma that you hand in. Bibliography, I would suggest you keep a note of your bibliography as you go. So, as you hand in each module to actually put your bibliography or webography there as you go. So, do encourage you to read around what you're learning here, both online, and we will be recommending books as we go. And there's so many books out there. Some are good, some are not so good. So if you want advice on that, let us know. Okay.
Debbie? Yeah? Now might be the time to answer Rachel's question. She's talking about coursework.
Yes, okay.
If it's returned that requires more information,
yes.
Yvette will give you some pointers as to what she's looking for. So you just need to redo the questions that she's asking you to redo, send them in, and then she will mark the coursework off as complete. As far as I'm aware, she's never rejected anything.
And she's very helpful, isn't she, with her feedback?
Yeah, she'll virtually tell you kind of what she's really looking for, and then you just need to rewrite that question in your own words.
Yeah, so there's no question of it's not like you fail. You can just go back and do what wasn't complete or wasn't as good as it could have been. And she normally I think it's within about 7 days, but generally she's quicker than that, isn't she, Heather?
Yeah,
she's very quick coming.
Sometimes she's within the same day, sometimes just a couple of days. She's really good.
Yeah, so you don't have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks. So yeah, she is very good. And as I said, her feedback is helpful and kind of guiding you. So she's not there to catch you out. So I won't go into too much detail about this, but this is about your case histories. But these are the sort of things that you might need to think about, working from a bit of a template when you're sort of putting your case histories together. So up to about 1,000 words. I'm pretty certain when I did mine, they were a lot more than that. So you probably find it might go over that. We're not too rigid about things like that. But you'd be looking at what the issue was, the methods and techniques that you actually ended up using, and then just following these basic guidelines. And again, all of this is in your handbooks. So if you've got any other questions as we go about that, we can certainly talk about that. And we will spend a bit more time on that at some point. So it's just really to give you an idea. Okay, right, well, I'm going to stop for breath in a minute because I'm going to get you doing something in a second. So what we're doing for time at the moment. Okay, gosh, I have been talking for a long time. Right, going to do a little exercise. Now, this is in your books if you have a look for you to work on. What I'd like you to do is just take about sort of 4 or 5 minutes to answer these questions just for yourself, so not to confer with the well, you can't really confer with the person next to you at this point, but I just want you to answer these questions, so to really think about why you're doing this course, and just actually think about what it is here. So I mean, Andrew always says put my name is, it kind of makes it feel more real, if you like, and I'm on this course because I want to have, or what do I want to get? What is it that you're actually trying to get from this course? Why are you here? What you want to feel at the end of this course. So how you might want to feel differently at the end of this course. Perhaps what you want your average day to be, and what you'd like to feel in terms of perhaps even your status and how you feel in society, what you can offer. So you've got all these questions written down in your notes. I'm just going to be quiet for about 5 minutes and just let you just take a moment to just write those down if you could. How are you all doing there? I've got about another minute or so. So if you can kind of wrap up what you're going to say in about the next minute or so. Okay, you all done? Let's, okay, now, okay, what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to put you into separate rooms. So you're going to go into breakout rooms in a moment. So this is where I will test my technology skills to make sure I can do this. What you're going to do next is you're going to interview each other. Okay, now one of the big qualities that you need, or one of the really key qualities you need as a therapist, is you need to be interested in people. You need to be interested in what they think, how they feel, and really want to dig in and find things out. So it's really important that you can do that. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to put you in roughly groups of 3. And one person is going to interview. You're going to choose one person to interview. So it should be about 5 minutes each in the group. So it should take roughly around about 15 minutes altogether. And I want you to find out about the other person's answers to those questions. Okay, so really find some information and come out and really have a little bit of an understanding of what that person's aims are for being on this course. And a little bit about them as well. Because, as I said, this is one of the most important things about being a therapist, is you really have to understand the person you're working with and want to understand them, so that you are working with their belief system, you're working with them, okay? So this is what we're going to do in a moment. Now I'm just going to stop screen sharing for a moment. Let's get off there, okay? And I'm going to try and put you into breakout rooms. Where's it gone? Here we go. Right. Now, on my count, I think probably about 7 should be right. Is that, did you say that's about right, Heather?
Yep, 7 will do it.
Yeah, okay. So in a moment, you're all going to find you're in a room with 2 other people, or maybe there might be some of you, there might be one person that's only just one, okay? Heather and I will probably move around in the rooms just to see how you're getting on. We won't interfere. But literally you are interviewing one person in your group each, okay, to find out as much as you can about who they are and why they're here, really, and what they want to achieve. Okay, so I'm just about to do this. Hopefully you should all disappear in a moment. Oop. Is everybody disappearing? Oops, and I'm left in a room. Ah, right. Okay, I'm on my own.